Hello Linux fans, Rob here, and welcome to Linux Quest. Thank you for watching. So this evening we have I guess I'll call this a quick spin first look of Mageia 6 or Mageia 6. I'm going to go with Mageia on this one. Correct me if I'm wrong. And I guess I'm going to start out here by saying, have you ever found like an old pair of shoes that you forgot you had? And, so you get them out and you put them on and they're already broken in and, they fit, and, you're like, oh, wow, I forgot about those shoes. Well, I'm going to start this out kind of with that analogy. And the reason why is that Mageia is a fork of one of my favorites from long ago when Mandriva and Fedora and SUSE Linux were the big dogs. They were the big three. And I can remember getting a CD, a disc, in the back of a magazine of Mandriva Linux and installing that. I think that was one of the first Linux distributions that I was able to install and had all of the drivers and everything working, and was able to really use it as a full-fledged working OS with sound and everything, because they included many drivers on their disk for the video cards and everything of the day. So just fond memories there. And so I'm going to read through some of this. So Mageia is out of France, and in September of 2010 Mageia was forked from Mandriva Linux. And I need to go back and read the history of really what happened with Mandriva and how that all fell apart, because it really was prominent in the 90s, and was one of those distributions that I always kept my eyes on and would read about from time to time, and kind of followed, even though I wasn't a Linux user for many years, unfortunately. But happy to be back with Linux here, and for sure. But anyway, this is really neat, and I haven't spent much time with this distribution at all. We have a subscriber to the channel who messaged me and suggested that we take a look at this, and this is running the XFCE desktop. So I want to talk about that just a minute. So if you go to downloads, so the current supported version is Mageia 5. So you have a couple of options here if you're interested in this. You have live media. If you choose live media, your options for desktop environment will be GNOME or KDE. And as it was suggested to me in the video channel, to choose classic installation. If you choose classic installation, you'll have a download of about 3.5 gigs. However, it will give you a choice of many desktop environments. So you would see prominent GNOME and KDE, and then other. And under other, you'll see Mate, XFCE, Cinnamon, and 2 or 3 other desktop choices. So if you want to try various desktops, go ahead and download the classic, and that way you can change desktops or do a reinstall and change desktops. Also, I want to mention that their installer is, and let's see here if this tells in the notes. Let's look at live media. I was really impressed with their installer, and one of the reasons why is that you get a choice of packages during the install. Now that was with classic installation. Let's see here if they mention their installer name. Do not see it. Okay, I'm sure it's in here somewhere. I was reading through much of their website earlier. I spent a lot more time reading through their website than I have looking at the distribution, actually. I'm kind of impressed with the size of the community and the activity, and that just tells me that good things are happening there. But that's also important, because if you've got a large community following and everything, chances are this is a distribution that'll be around for some time. At any rate, the point that I was trying to make, what I was impressed with was during the installation, you have an option to choose package groups. So you had, for example, gamer, and so I imagine that, you know, had I chosen that, they would have pre-installed Steam and other game tools, perhaps. And then there was one for developers. I chose Workstation. There was one for networking, and development. I think maybe I said that already, but you know, had I chosen development, then the install would have included, I'm sure, development tools, focused on development tools. So, you know, I'd like to see that actually in more distributions, and you know, given that option, that just speeds up the whole install process. And so I may go back and try Mageia 5 and just kind of see how that works, trying various things there with you know, various desktops. Probably go back to KDE. That's what I remember in Mandriva, was always running KDE. Alright, so certainly if you're interested in this, there's plenty here to check out and plenty to see. So let's go ahead and take a look. Again, not very familiar with this. This is a pre-release. This is not a long-term release or anything. I think this is in beta right now. But just the limited time I've spent with it, it doesn't feel beta. It feels ready to release. So this is, again, XFCE desktop environment, and so if you're familiar with that, you kind of have the whisker menu. And I'll start out by saying this is kind of a bland, you know, it's an attractive wallpaper, but the theming and everything is very generic and bland and very businesslike. However, back to the memory lane, old pair of shoes analogy, one thing that kind of brought me back to thinking about the reasons I enjoyed Mandriva came to me when I launched into the Mageia Control Center. So let's do that. And you know, so I've got two trains of thought here. One is job well done with the Control Center. And as I bounce through, you know, it felt similar to, I'm going to say, Yast within, just a quick run through here, Yast, which you'll find in OpenSUSE. Categorized, so you've got software management, install and remove software, update the system, and I went in to see if there were updates. I always do that first when I'm trying out a distribution. There were none. Configure update frequency, and then you can configure your media sources for install and update. And we'll go ahead, before we move on down to the other categories, I just want to give you a look at the installer, which also kind of brought back memories of Mandriva. And maybe I'm confusing it with other distributions like OpenSUSE, but I just seem to recall that this was what Mandriva looked like. But you know, I recently reviewed Gecko Linux, and this also looks like what you would see in OpenSUSE. Gecko being a little spin of OpenSUSE. Anyway, so you have your, you know, categories, you have search, you have some options here for packages with graphic user interface, you know, all meta packages, update, security, so on and so forth. We'll keep that here. And so you could do a quick search. So we'll go Warzone, for example. We were talking about games earlier. And so here you see two versions. Okay, so x86 and i586. So you'd simply select, and this thing's fast. So it would pop right up your dependency, so on and so forth. Again, so if you're familiar with OpenSUSE, this is very similar to their software management tool. So we'll close this out. Let's go into hardware. And so you can manage your hardware, browse and configure hardware, sound configuration, 3D desktop effects, graphical server. You know, and as we dig through this, it seems to me that I want to look at some things here quickly. So yeah, this is this goes deeper than than a lot of distributions you see today. I'm going to equate this really with a lot of the enterprise features that you would see in OpenSUSE. As I see authentication, let's go down here to network and see. Yeah, oh yeah. So if you're looking for, I'm just going to go ahead and throw this out. If you are looking for an alternative, maybe on an enterprise level, some of the things I'm seeing here lead me to believe that you can really go in and control quite a bit of this system. Security, advanced network interfaces and firewall, personal firewall, set up the boot system, manage disk partitions, network sharing, so configure NFS shares, Windows shares. Yeah, absolutely. So this isn't just a run-of-the-mill light system. This is a system here under Control Center that's going to give you quite a bit of control. So not saying that you couldn't use it as just an everyday desktop system without getting into the enterprise side of things. Excuse me. But just but seeing this, I'm going to say this is on the level of really OpenSUSE. Alright, so let's go over into some other areas here and explore. Let's go down to settings. And a lot of the settings that you're going to see here are XFCE settings. So if we go into appearance, let's check that out. Wow, for pre-release this has got, wow, quite a selection of different themes. Grape and lime, berries and cream. Some of those I haven't heard of. Evolution, evolution light. Ooh, evolution, that's pretty cool. And let's see, icons. Okay, only 2 sets of icons. Default font, settings. Kind of a dark theme there. Well, the panel is anyway. Alright, let's look at a few other things here under settings. See if we see anything new. I believe most of this, if we go into Settings Manager, okay, that's the default Settings Manager that you'll see from just about any XFCE install. So you can go in with Appearance and Desktop, File Manager settings, Display settings, so on and so forth, the panel. And I'm not going to dig here. This is a first look. So we'll just kind of browse through some of these things. Really, it piqued my interest. I had kind of had Mageia on my list of to-dos as far as checking out the distribution, and then again, one of our subscribers has been using it and really had high praise for it. So really just wanted to jump in and see what this is all about. And glad I did. It's fun to see things like this. Under Office, not really much there. A calendar and a document viewer. Sciences, you have LibreCAD. Let's see here. Sound and video. So the only thing that I installed was Simple Screen Recorder. So Sound Juicer, Sound Converter, Pulse Audio Control, Parole Media Player, M-Player, MP3 Info, Gnome Player, Audacity, and Audacious. So pretty good selection on the media side of things. Internet, Firefox by default, FileZilla, and let's see, I believe that is okay. One thing I am noticing here, you're not seeing any informative pop-ups. Now that may come later with the final release, but it would be nice as you hover here to see, a short description perhaps of what that program is without having to click on it. Clausmail, see graphics, you have GIMP, GThumb, LibreCAD, Ristretto Image Viewer. I'm not familiar with that. Let's check that out. And again, I haven't spent enough time to really add anything to this, so I have no images, but it looks very clean, straightforward, pretty simple. I do not see any editing tools here to speak of. Anyway, wasn't familiar with that. And let's see here under all. Let's just do a quick, see if there's anything that stands out that would be worth mention here. Let's go ahead and open up the welcome screen. And that is a nice welcome screen. And I closed, when I first installed, I kind of glanced down here. Should have spent more time because you've got a lot of documentation options here. Newcomers, how to, that's nice to see. Release notes. Let's just pop into that briefly. Alright, wow, lots there. Okay, yeah, so this has a list of desktop environments. So you've got Light Window Managers, Enlightenment, Cinnamon, Mate, LXQT, XFCE, LXDE, and then of course GNOME and KDE. So games, new in Mageia 6. So pretty good list of games if you're interested. And then Libreoffice has been updated to 5.1. So anyway, not gonna, since we're rolling here, I'm not going to go through all of that. Forums, wiki, chat room. So again, I've spent some time looking at the forums, the wiki, and you know, I'm kind of impressed there with the amount of involvement going on behind this distro. It's good to see. Community center. So what I missed here was applications. So this says this is just a small selection of popular packages for more. Run RPM Drake, which is their software manager. Be sure you have enabled online repositories. So clicking that, now we go to core, free open source packages, non-free. So let's try that. We're exploring together here, folks. So we have core, non-free. Okay, that's selected. Non-free is selected. All right, we're going to come out of that for now. That's interesting. Wonder how this differs from Mageia 5. So you can step through here. Interesting. Install and remove software, terminal. So they have a wiki on the process. Interesting. So let's look here at applications again. Alright, so this looks like a short list of applications they think or they have determined that you may be interested in installing, and then you have categories here on the left. I like this. This is convenient. Now it looks like we have a few that are tainted for Mageia 6 here. So audio multimedia codecs, looks, Flash, looks like we could install that. Skype, Qubit Torrent, SM Player, VLC. List of games here. Warzone. Let's see, Steam. Okay, that's good to see. Flash plugin. Some of these are redundant. Clementine, Radio Tray. Not familiar with Radio Tray. Sound converter. Here's your LibreOffice, because earlier we saw no Office installed. Abbey Word Calligra. Very good. And then under graphics we have Inkscape. GIMP is installed, so you could launch from here. Yeah, I like this. I like that this is in the welcome screen. You know, it's not a it doesn't appear to launch any. I guess it would launch the installer, but it doesn't appear to launch anything. Under programming, Eclipse, Code Blocks, Qt Creator. Interesting. Yeah, I think maybe I'll go back and take a look at Mageia 5 here and just kind of see how things differ, and I'll probably install the KDE version and really get that feel of memory lane with Mandriva, you know, that old pair of shoes feel maybe. But I think they've done a nice job here with their welcome screen. You know, I can't help but say that this is it kind of has an old school feel, even with XFCE here. it's fast and light and everything. It's just that I don't know, some of the way that the layout and things like that is displayed, it just kind of has an old school feel to it for whatever reason. And these icons were pre-installed on the panel here, so you had terminal, mousepad, file manager. Let's take a look at the file manager. This is Thunar, or should be. Yep, Thunar 1.6.10. Very capable file manager. You can go into preferences and you can configure custom actions. Here they have open terminal here and preferences. It's certainly better than some that I have seen, I'll say that, with the ability to go in and create those custom commands. So we could open terminal here, for example, and go in and set up many other commands, zoom in, zoom out, and then under preferences we could go in and choose one-click install, things like that, emblems, single click. Okay, alright, enough of that. So I get the feeling that this is, if you are looking for an alternative on an enterprise level where you can get into deeper control, that this is a system that would accommodate you. Not saying that if you just want a simple desktop that you wouldn't want to try this. It's certainly possible. I think that there are probably better alternatives if you're just looking for a simple distribution with simple controls and and a selection of desktop environments. If you're not interested in some of the enterprise settings which I saw in their control panel, if you don't intend on going down that path, then perhaps this wouldn't be one that you would choose. But I believe that if you need more control, gosh, I'm surprised at how well this thing's been running, just how fast and how, I've got 4 gigs of RAM here and an SSD drive. It's certainly not a beast of a system, and this is just running so fast it really feels ready to release. We didn't look at development there. So, again, first look, I don't have much more to sell. There was something else. Okay, there was something that I remember seeing. Like Columbo, the inspector. One more thing. Let's see if I can find, because I remember seeing one piece of software that I found interesting. And let's see, maybe under tools. Aha, here it is. Phone Manager. As I glanced through, they had an app called Phone Manager, and I found that interesting. It looks like it allows you to connect via Bluetooth, and then once set up, you can you'll see a pop-up window for new messages and play a sound when messages arrive. Now, I don't see anything close to the capabilities of KDE Connect here, and this could be an XFCE program, and I'm just not aware of that, but this is the first time I've seen it. But I found that interesting. It'd be nice to connect the phone and try it out. I'm a big fan of KDE Connect, so if this had some of the same function, nice addition. Good to see that there. So anyway, I'm going to play around with this a little more. We'll probably go back and take a look at Mageia 5 with KDE Neon and revisit that old pair of shoes, so to speak. Not that Mageia 5 is an old pair of shoes, don't get me wrong, but just equating it to Mandriva. And if you're like me and you were working with Linux back in the 90s, back in the heyday of Mandriva, perhaps you have the same fond memories of that distribution. And if you did, drop me a note, let me know how long you ran it, and and any thoughts you had there. That'd just be one more fun thing to think about. So, all right, we're going to wrap it up from here. Appreciate you watching, and we will check you later.